Hello, my fellow DEGENS. How we doing? This is a special that we're running this week, so it's definitely not on the live docket right now, but I'm excited to start this up with everybody. So this is Dynasty Theory that we're going to be talking about. Dynasty Theory to me is pretty wide spectrum of things. You're going to be talking about your leagues, so it's league to league for me and discussing the value in that league itself. Dynasty theory isn't so widespread, so it's not a theory that just applies to every league. It's more about you understanding your league mates, the value, everybody that they have, that they overvalue, undervalue. So it's fun going against the grain a little bit and making trades or making movements based off of the overall speak of these players themselves. So it's an exciting thing to do, and I think once you understand it, it's really good to apply to most of your leagues. I have a good friend joining me today, but before that, let's let the DEGENS cook. All right. As I alluded to before, this is Dynasty DEGENS, so Dynasty Theory. I am joined by my buddy Kerty at OGKerty. So this man is new to the game. He's new blood. Let's be kind to him. What's up, Kerty? How you doing, brother?
Fabulous, nerd boy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So this is your first podcast ever, and I'm very excited to be driving this podcast, to have you as a passenger, to talk some Dynasty Theory, to talk some values, to go over everything. Before we get to that, though, how you doing, man? How's everything going?
We're doing good, man. Got the invite to join the Undroppables, so been with them since about March 1st. It's that exciting time for Dynasty where it's rookie talk, it's cut time in FFPC, home leagues, so trades are flying, rookie picks are flying. Really good spot.
Yeah, FFPC is wild, man. I have my friends sending me trades all the time over there, and when it is cut time, it just feels so nasty. It feels so wrong because, I have a buddy that, well, I actually my buddy Theo just posted a trade about MHJ going for, I think it was 107 and the 203 or something, and he just had to shut him. And I don't know if I love that, but a lot of these trades that happen in that format, I don't know if I love, just because you are shedding these players and you are cutting down. And I want to be selective with who I cut down, but at the same time, sometimes you just got to make these trades because you're running out of time, so it's fun. And talking about leagues and startups, I'm actually in a startup right now. So being on the clock, we are going to test your ball knowledge before we even start anything right now. So this is a 12-team super flex. I'm in here with a bunch of friends right now. We're just having some fun. My build right now is Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase. I can go anywhere on here. Like, I can do just about anything. I don't really care about which direction I go. I think I was talking to you before backstage. A lot of these guys are kind of fading quarterback. It is a super flex, but I think that's one thing that I talked about before is understanding your league and then knowing the value that you can get. So I think I can get a quarterback later. I don't think I want quarterback right now. So to you, Kerty, we're looking right now at the top of ADP. We got Jordan Love, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Rashee Rice. There's Bucky Irving in there. And then Ted McMillan is down there. So this includes rookies as well. So the only two rookies that have gone off the board are Genty and Hampton. So we're still looking at Cam Ward, Ted McMillan. I guess if you want to go even deeper, yeah, we're not going that deep right now. We're not going down there. What's the play right now? What are you thinking?
Just given roster construction, and you're going to start what 3 wide receivers. I would definitely look at the wide receiver well. To me, this year, Garrett Wilson's at the top with Fields. It's going to be funnel targets with Fields and Brees Hall in production.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson feels like the right move. I don't like anything past that, And Ted McMillan, while I like him as a prospect, I don't think I feel good about, you know, taking him this early in a draft and really just banking on the hopes and dreams that he's going to land somewhere and produce. As a prospect, I think I would take Garrett Wilson over him all day. Rashid Rice is down there too, but that's just I don't know if my risk tolerance is there right now. I don't think I can take him over Garrett Wilson. So I am
Stafford would be
tapping.
nice, but Garrett Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. All right. Boom, boom.
Nice.
Nice. All right. So I got some power on that team right now. I do like Garrett Wilson. I've been a little, he always feels like a guy that is like he's almost in the tier of DJ Moore and who else is in that tier of Terry McLaurin. Like you're waiting for a quarterback for so many years. I mean, he's only on year 3. This would be year 4 actually.
Only because he dealt with what
Yeah.
Zach Wilson and Mike White and
Yeah. But I mean, he's getting to be that, like he's your overdrafted guy that, you're hoping and praying produces. And he still has like these decent years. Like you think he's hitting 1,000 yards with really poor quarterback play, but also, man, he's got the highest ceiling that I can imagine as a player that's in that situation. And it's just like you're waiting, you're hoping. That hope is that Justin Fields does provide that boom year, the funneling targets, the dump offs, they're pretty much just like looking for that go-to guy because he does have that in his bag as far as, he hyper targets individuals. And I just want to see Justin Fields succeed as well over there. I've been waiting for him to get a solid opportunity after being kind of shunned by the Chicago Bears. And do you watch that situation from the sideline and you see Caleb Williams pretty much getting everything handed to him as far as the team build goes? Like they're boosting up the offensive line. They're getting all the weapons they can. They're really just showing Caleb that this is their guy and this is the person who they believe in. And then Justin Fields has been like, while he was there, it was ugly. Like we saw them put zero effort into getting him protection. And they finally got DJ Moore, and the first year they had him, they just shipped Fields off after that. So outside of that, it was Mooney as his wide receiver 1 for X amount of years, So you feel good about that situation in New York?
Yeah, I mean, do I feel good about it? No, but for fantasy purposes, if Fields is guaranteed to start this entire year, I mean, when he plays, he's a low end QB1 with his rushing floor.
Mm-hmm.
You alluded back to Chicago when his best wide receiver was Darnell Mooney. He gave Mooney 1,000 yards one year. He had to do it with his legs. It was just an unfortunate, unprecedented situation where the Bears had an opportunity to, cut bait and go with Caleb, who was this consensus generational prospect. And Fields last year went 4-2 with the Steelers, so we'll see what he could do.
Yeah, it just feels like a prospect they gave up too early. They could have developed a little more, but it is what it is now. And he found a home. So hopefully that he shows out a little bit and shows that he belongs in the NFL. So I'm not saying I want Chicago to look bad because I think they're set up for success this year, but also I just feel bad for the position they put him in, a couple of years ago, and then continued that until they traded him off for, what was that, a 7th round pick essentially? It was just, the value was not there. It just kind of shows you they wanted to do him a favor, but they also, I don't think they valued him at all, but let's talk about you a little bit, man. So how long have you been doing Dynasty? Like what really got you into doing Dynasty football to start?
Yeah, no, home league. My buddies and I did a dynasty startup 2017 because it was a year that like Fournette was a rookie, McCaffrey was a rookie, single QB back then. Shout out Big 20 Shockers Dynasty League. We started as a one QB and now we're super flex, and it's a little bit different. It's total points. So it's like a
Okay.
manual ball for lack of a better term. And
Yep.
it's a pain in the rear because we have to run it through Yahoo. So they shut down the sites. We have to like save all the rosters. But yeah, so shout out Sleeper, anybody else who wants to get that format rolling. We'll jump right over.
Nice, man. I like that. I like the wrinkles, I think people, especially in the dynasty community, get a little tired with the same old settings. So, I do you do anything else besides dynasty? Are you into Devi at all or C2C or anything? Or are you just strictly dynasty redraft right now?
Yeah, 90, 85, 90% dynasty. I love me some redraft, your typical um, leagues every year. And then I have not gotten into any Devi or C2C yet. It's something that I just add a bunch of dynasty leagues this offseason. So I want to see if I can manage that load and then maybe look into C2C, just given its growing popularity.
Yeah, this is how it always starts, man. You start building up your dynasty leagues, you got a bunch of them going, and then you're like, okay, I can do this. And then you're like, okay, let's get into a Devi league. And then Devi becomes a little too manageable at the time. And then you're looking for a new challenge. C2C happens, and then it just becomes like a full on, you're going into like live action C2C. And I went into strictly just college. Um, Last year. So my buddy Eric Fraughton does just like college ball, like college fantasy. And that was just an insane experience, like we were going deep into, drafting like D3 Maryland teams, like, going in their defensive line and talking about their build and their coaches are like, they like work at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning and then they go coach at night. Like these are the guys we're talking about. Like they're just like run of the mill people that nobody probably knows, but you just get so deep into it that it's just like you're involved so heavily into like little aspects of it, which makes it fun. But you're also like, I got a family, brother. Like I can't be doing this all night, like up until 4 a.m. talking about it, and then you're just like, oh, I have a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like we said earlier, we're going to be talking about dynasty theory and going over basic dynasty theory. So I'm going to ask you, what is dynasty theory to you as I guess can I say a newer content creator? You're getting into the game a little bit. What's your grasp of it, and how do you describe it if somebody's asking you about it?
Yeah, I mean, dynasty theory, dynasty game theory is there's no wrong answer. I think it's just a lot of perspective on trades, on draft choices, on situations. It's something to always think about when your buddy or you get a Discord message posted, right? Send in JT for the 106. What's the first thing I ask for? Roster context, league format, yada, yada, yada. So you're just looking at sometimes, well, maybe if you're trading the 106, can you trade it for a tier less plus? And really just weighing all your options. So just because you get one offer doesn't mean that's the end all be all. There's always a counter. Great negotiation. Dynasty fantasy football is much appreciated. And just remember, you don't have to set a roster until September. I mean, your roster is going to look a lot different come week 1 than it is right here, right now, end of March.
Yeah, that's exactly what I always tell people is, you don't have to fill positions right now. There's no stress on anybody but your own, and it doesn't make any sense to be worried about that. There's going to be buy sell windows all through and through, like you don't have to. I go into weeks where I'm just like, well, I'm running one quarterback, or I just don't stress a deal, because once you do that in your league, people understand that you're at that need, that time, and they just, okay, they can take advantage of you. They can send you low ball offers. They can do whatever they want. They can get one of your best players for a positional player that you supposedly need really bad. So I think the important thing is never stressing out and never showing people that you are stressed out, but dynasty theory to me is taking advantage of market deficiencies, and that could mean just about anything. But ultimately, if I am looking on Twitter or in a bunch of leagues, I am seeing Garrett Wilson being sold very cheaply. I actually bought Garrett Wilson for the 111 mid season last year. And that was a frustrated guy that really just wanted him off the roster, believes that he's never going to touch the value that he's at. So he just cashed out for any first. I think that's the other issue, is selling guys for first rounders when they're not set yet and you don't know where they're going to land. But, that can blow up in your face. And we'll talk about that a little more in detail. But yeah, taking advantage of market efficiencies and understanding your leagues as a whole. And understanding that if your league values this player this way, then you can go off of, another league and really take advantage of just understanding how to flip flop these values. And it's such a wide spectrum that you can go into a league and Garrett Wilson is a sell, and the next league he's a massive buy. And really like testing the market and understanding the differences is what makes dynasty theory so fun. And that's like why content is in existence, because there is so many buy low, sell highs, and this guy's going to smash because this situation. And really it's all theory, because we're just playing in a game of theory. We're weathermen. We have these numbers, we understand situations, we have these analytic numbers, and the process is right and sounds. But we're just predicting this stuff, and we're hoping that it comes to fruition most of the time. It's educated guessing, and that's theory. That is what we're doing. You're hoping that it's going to play out the right way, and there's no way you're going to get 100% hit rate. But I think playing the game and being in constant motion gives you a higher hit rate and a higher chance of succeeding in the game. I think the more active you are, the more movement you have, the better chance you have of either giving people sound advice or succeeding in the game itself. Because, I don't think the guy that checks in every 3 months really cares or wants to understand how the game is really changing, because it is constantly changing and moving over. But with all that long-winded nonsense that I just reeled off there, we're going to talk about pick values. We're going to talk about players that we'll just go back and forth and talk about, okay, would you rather have this guy, that guy, or the 101? And then we will sound off a little bit on the process of if you're trading off of these picks and what you should expect and how to maneuver around the board. And we'll talk about some insulation when it comes to trades as well. So the 101 is Genty this year. Oh, I got the sound on over here.
Pick.
Yeah. So the 101 is Genty this year, and we're seeing him going roughly the mid to late second in a lot of startups, so that's really like in the range of, if we're talking about guys. So there's BTJ, Amon-Ra, Puka, and then quarterbacks like Herbert. I think Bo Nix is in that range. Drake May is in that range as well. So let me ask you right now, would you rather? So we know it's a running back. That's probably not going to change from now until draft time. Do you want him over any of these wide receivers that I just mentioned? So BTJ, Puka, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Would you take Genty over any of these guys?
Again, going back to team context is everything. If you're a go now team that traded for the 101 a year ago or 2 years ago, now it's the 101 and you're a running back away, you can definitely push the button on Genty. However, if you're a team that is rebuilding, or your wide receiver one is Jamison Williams right now, you need to really take a hard look at yourself and say, you know what, I need to flip this 101 for a solid young wide receiver of those three. I would take any of those three in that context. Um, because Janty could smash, Janty could go out there and sprain a toe. We never want to wish injury on anybody, but it's just a high risk investment for a team with a 101 that likely has a lot more holes to fill.
Yeah, and that's important to know your team, because I was talking to Kerty backstage, and if you have a lot of holes on your team, bringing a running back onto that squad isn't going to save it. You know, if you are in need of a quarterback, if you're in need of wide receivers, the running back should be your last positional need, because running backs can always be bought later in the season. And there's always buy windows for older running backs that people kind of think that are going to get drafted over, or they've run out of steam and they just think, okay, this person is dead. Like, you could buy Kamara for like a late second, I think, in some leagues right now. And I think he's pretty safe and probably going to have a solid year this coming season. So, yeah, and to Kurt share a little bit about that, for a dynasty team, I build at the quarterback and wide receiver position all the time. And you so happen to get lucky and you make a trade that turns into the 101 as a team that's already set, I'm totally fine with taking Genty there. But for pure value standpoint, I would take Puka over Genty. I would take BTJ over Genty. I would definitely take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Genty. There's a bunch of other wide receivers in that range outside of the top tier that I probably would bite when it comes to Genty or him. But it's just the fact that you are wanting to build a dynasty, the wide receivers hold value for way longer. Like what Kerty just said, they get injured. A wide receiver could get injured and still sustain the same amount of value the next year. A running back is always boosted down quite a bit because of the longevity that they're usually out for, and also the fear that they're going to lose the explosiveness that makes them so electric as a dynasty asset. Is there any guys that you would take Genty over in that range? Like we were talking about Herbert, Drake May, take team context out. Do you think that there's any world where he holds more value than any of these quarterbacks or wide receivers in that range?
Team context out of it. I mean, the quarterbacks, when they're locked up like Justin Herbert with that 5-year deal, he's going to start for the next 5 years at a minimum, whenever that contract runs out. It's just sustainability for your roster and something that you can count on and build upon. I guess some people might lean, oh, I could take Genty and then flip them. Well, why would you even risk flipping them if you can already have what you want to flip them for right here, right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just nobody wants to miss on Genty. I think there's a world where it's difficult for people even not ready for it. And they want a taste of these guys. Like I just saw Genty in this startup. I mean, let's just pull this up right now so we're looking right now. So Genty went right after Herbert and before Drake London, before Kyler Murray, before Nico Collins, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Hampton going's crazy too.
Yeah, that's Bussy Chuck right there. So that's Chuck Bass, man. He's going all
Robust
rookie running
RB.
back. Yeah, good for him. But yeah, it's wild because you're going to see this a lot. So I can't get behind taking Genty over even a Nico Collins. I just can't do it.
And to circle back, this is a hobby. Like fantasy football's for fun. If you're in one dynasty league and you have one 101 and you really want to take Genty, that's your process, right? That you're probably not rocking with the DEGENS and this game theory about it, but if that's what you want to do at the end of the day, by all means, do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it is fun, and it's definitely. I don't know if people listen to this podcast that are just in it for fun. I'll be honest. Like, I think that's more the redraft, or I don't know if they're deep into it. To be honest with you, I feel like all my DGens out there are at least 7 or 8 leagues deep, and that's an educated guess, and I think I know my audience pretty well, but I could be wrong there. Let's move it to the 102 though. So 102, I'm putting these guys out there, and it seems like it's pretty accurate based off of the draft that I'm in right now. So 102, I'm looking at a Lad McConkey, a Nico Collins, Drake London, Marvin Harrison Jr. And 102 is Hampton right now. It could be Ted McMillan, it could be Cam Ward. There's a lot of question marks as far as who that is, but those are the guys that you're looking at, the 102. And I don't think there's any chance that anybody else gets into that spot. So we can safely say it's either Hampton, Cam Ward, or Ted McMillan at 102. And I'm not sure how deep into a prospect profile you get. I know Ted McMillan pretty well. Personally, if he's at the 102, I would take Lad, Nico, and Drake London. I think he's being comped as a Drake London because of his size, but it overall doesn't hold the weight that Drake London has in his prospect profile. And we've already seen him be successful in the NFL. So it's like, I can't get behind that. I can't really get behind anything, but this is really what you're able to trade the 102 for, and you have to think about that. Like, you are trading a Hampton or a Ted McMillan for one of these top tier wide receivers that have already successfully done it in the NFL, like a Lad McConkey. I had a buddy, I'll drop his name, Jagger. Jagger traded the 101 for Lad McConkey, straight up. And he got roasted for it. But really, if you're not ready for, he could have got more value. I'll never say sell under value, but dude, I don't hate it, because you are getting a top tier wide receiver on a team that you probably aren't ready for a running back. So is there a world where you would value the 102? And this is a resale value as well. So we're talking about the value of the 102 right now. Do you think it ever gets higher than somebody like London or Lad McConkey or Nico Collins?
That's a great question. If the value ever gets higher, to me, when you have premium draft picks like this that you think you want to move, you put a on the block message now and see what offers you get. If you don't love it, decline it. Wait till that pick is on the clock. People are going to have FOMO. You could end up with one of these wide receivers. Plus is what you're going for, especially given your team context. But that 101 Lad trade, can I ask you, do you think Lad's at his ceiling right now? Will Lad McConkey's value ever get higher?
I think I had him as a I like from the jump, I had him as like a lower end Antonio Brown. And that's just really like his skill set, his movement, the way that he breaks out of his stems, his route running, everything from his first step is pretty spot on to that tier of a wide receiver. I don't think he fades off of any value. I don't know. Things have to play out a certain way. He is on a, like, if you had Lad on a pass first offense, like if you threw him anywhere, like if you had him with CJ Stroud and put him in the Nico Collins role, like you would look at that team and you would look at Lad in a different realm. And I think he'd probably be going at the end of a first, or, like a little sooner than what we're talking about. I'd probably be looking at either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Lad McConkey in that range. So I think there's definitely a world where he could boost in value, but I think that would have to mean that Justin Herbert opens it up a little more and Harbaugh says, okay, we're going to sling it for the year and not run the ball 25, 30 times a game. He's capped at his team scheme and the way that they operate. But I don't think that lasts forever. So I don't know. I mean, I think he might stay exactly where he is right now. And I think he could be. I think him and Amon Ra could trade places with Ben Johnson out of town. I think Amon Ra might disappoint, not to the degree that we're like looking at him as not a wide receiver one, but I think he's more of a back end wide receiver one now instead of a high end wide receiver one.
Yeah, no, I like that take. And circle back, I mean, you're taking all these receivers over Tet at 102, no questions asked, because there's proven production in the NFL. There's two things in Dynasty. Well, there's more, but there's value and then there's production. And you don't want to open what's behind door number one if you know door number two is Lad, Nico, or Drake.
I think the ceiling comp that I have for Ted McMillan is T. Higgins. I think that when you look at this guy, he is a large individual. He's like 6'5". He's got some weight on him. He doesn't use that weight. He doesn't use it physically at all in his game. So it's really just like, okay, he's good at the catch point. He can be a contested catch guy. But he's missing that dog, that like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have that ability to like, exactly. Like, and that's exactly what T. Higgins is like. You're like, okay, you could be so much better. And T. Higgins is very good. But T. Higgins also is very good for 3 games and is gone for 3 games. And you could say that's because he plays with one of the top wide receivers in the game. But I also think that that's just really how he's built. Like he is a boom bust. He doesn't play through injury. And that's just, I'm not saying he's injury prone, but I'm just saying he doesn't play through it. He gets injured. He's like, I'm done. And then he has those annoying, like he has one every year, a decoy game where he goes in and you play him. And then he doesn't even, he's in there for like maybe two or 3 plays. And then he's like, okay, I'm done. He's frustrating. And his value is like in that 4th round of startups, like, and I'll always reference startups for value because I think that's exactly where you have to go. And if you don't have any value to go off of, if you're not in startups, I have a chart that you can use that I just take all my startups and I just mush them together. And that's just the ADP that you get. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be more than a Nico or a T. Higgins in the NFL. And so I'll take those wide receivers over him all day.
Absolutely.
Let's move it to 103. So 103 is the same guys. It could be like we're talking 103 to 104. We're going to be talking about the same guys almost, Yep. And then it's going to get juicier. And then we're probably going to have some, okay, take the pick over these guys. Now we're getting to that range where like you might want the pick, the thing that I always struggle with is Kyler Murray and the value of Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray is being taken in the 103 range where Jordan Love is. So Jordan Love's still on the board with me, and we're in the end of the 3rd round right now. So Kyler Murray already went. Jordan Love's still up there. I think people are souring on Jordan Love a little bit. And then also Laporta. So Laporta in TEP leagues is in that range too. So I might take the pick over. I don't know. You taking Jordan Love or the 103?
That's the one guy that I was kind of on the fence about just because, I mean, he's a gunslinger. Then the Green Bay really was run heavy down the stretch last year. Jordan Love was, 20, 25 pass attempts per game. I wish I had the stat in front of me, but it's just not a lot of conducive opportunity for fantasy points being scored. However, he got extended. I mean, he's going to be starting for your fantasy team for the next 2 to 3 years, which is that window I like to look at. If you need a quarterback, I wouldn't balk at the 103 going for Jordan Love because at worst it's a reroll on Cam Ward, and Cam Ward's kind of polarizing right now. I think it's interesting the Titans are excited about him, but yeah, Nerf gun to my head. I think I'm gonna trade the 103 for Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think I am too. I think that's really the right process because Cam Ward is, you hope that he's Jordan Love, like you hope that he's not a rushing guy per se. Like he definitely can get out of the pocket, but Jordan Love can too, almost the same rushing ability, like, and that's not saying much, but he's not going to get you much points on his feet. And I think Jordan Love might be a better passer than Cam Ward currently. We're only going off of his red shirt rookie year, and then last year he was supposedly injured for most of the year. I think he was dealing with a lot of stuff that was keeping him at like 80%, 90% or something. So he wasn't full force there, which could have attributed to his accuracy and everything that was definitely the main thing. And who knows, maybe he gets a wide receiver 1 in this draft class, like maybe Green Bay prioritizes, they listen to Josh Jacobs over there and they go and they grab, I don't know. I mean, at that point they could get an Emeka Ibuka. They could wait a little bit, maybe get a Luther Burden or somebody that gives them a little more life than, Dobbs. And I mean, Jaden Reed's fine over there, but it's, I don't blame Love not being completely accurate. Like the Tavian Wicks drops 50% of his balls, and it's tough over there. But all right, so we're definitely I think we're going Love over 103. 104, same thing. We got Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence is in that range. Love is still probably in that range as well, but we're already agreeing that 103 over him. Is Trevor Lawrence somebody that you'd want to re-roll on? Is he been in it long enough where you're comfortably saying, okay, I'll take the 104 over Trevor Lawrence?
That's a great question. I actually sold Trevor in one league and bought him in another in the past week, just based on values, league to league. And it's going to boil down to team context, what you need. If you need a second quarterback, like I'm very comfortable with Trevor being QB2 on my roster because he's shown last year before he got injured, he had, I think half his games were QB1 numbers for fantasy purposes. And you could buy into the hopium of BTJ take another step forward, old regime out, new regime in. I mean, I don't think Liam Cohen gets that job or takes that job if he doesn't think he can succeed with Trevor. Division's not the best division in football, so they have an opportunity to win. So I'm definitely taking Trevor over the 104.
Yeah. True story. I went to college with Liam Cohen, and we went to a couple parties together. I know him from a different time period for sure, but I was over there.
He knows.
Yeah. I mean, having him, I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird time at UMass for sure. But yeah, so I agree. I don't think he takes that job unless he has an idea in his head that he's gonna at least have some job security and have the opportunity to build it up a little bit. Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is a buy. Like I think there's a opportunity there to get a starting quarterback that has decent job security in a spot in rookie drafts where if you need a quarterback, you might not be able to get one, especially if Shedeur, doesn't really land in a good spot or isn't in I guess a promising situation when it comes to rookie drafts. So it's going to be tough, and I'm curious how that plays out, especially with the quarterbacks. Like we talked about, it's been a while since there's been no quarterback available. We have to go back to was it 2022 with Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral and
Malik Willis.
Yeah, Malik Willis over there, Wolf. Desmond Ritter. That's kind of what this class feels like, even though I'm taking Cam Ward and Sam Howell was in there. Yeah. I mean, couple year one starters. Sam Howell was QB 12 on the year,
arm fell off
Sam,
that year. He threw it way
I
too.
still think that Seattle's in a better position with Sam Howell than they would be with Darnold, just because it's not that I think Darnold is. I don't think that Sam Howell's a better quarterback by any means, but I think what you're building over there, you probably should have never gave somebody the bag that is like a slightly better version of the guy that you already had on the team. You know, like he's like just a little better than Sam Howell, without the rushing ability that Sam Howell has. So it's like they could have just threw Sam Howell out there, said, "This is our guy for a year," had him as a bridge quarterback, went back, got the 102, 103, or, get Archie Manning or whoever they want in that draft. Now they're going to be like a middle of the road team again, just like they were with Geno Smith. And they're going to just maybe make the playoffs or maybe miss the playoffs, whatever. And it's just like they started rebuilding and getting all these like picks and stuff. And then they went and gave Sam Darnold a massive bag, I don't get it, but
They got a multi-year plan to rebuild, so they'll get a bad pick next year and the following year instead of just 1 year.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, if that's the move, I tip my cap to you. Let's go to 105. So 105 is, we're talking Rashee Rice, JT, and then T Higgins. So this is where it's kind of nice, like this is the range where I think I'm going to take the pick, just because I think that's going to hold more value, especially like a JT. I think that JT has the opportunity to probably have a good year this year, but I think this is the last really good year that he has. I think that we're talking about him taking a drop in value after this year, because he's 26, 25, going to be 26. And he's got no quarterback. That quarterback situation is very messy, in Indianapolis. Like, I don't know. I don't want any part of that. And like I think he might get force fed this year, but I might re-roll on the 105 over JT. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, team context, if you think you're a running back away and JT's going to smash next year like he did last year, but the liquidity of that 105 is very nice, because you're talking what? Tyler Warren, JT, or Shadur Sanders, Quinshad Judkins range.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have one of those running backs, because if we're going to talk about Genty, and then either Hampton or Tet, and then Hampton or Tet, so that's the 103 right there. And then we're talking about, I don't know, I guess could be Travion. It could be a Mecca. Either way, it's going to be Travion, a Mecca, and then we're already at what, the 106.
You're right there.
So yeah, you're looking at Shador Sanders. You are looking at Keyshawn. You're looking at a tight end. If you want to go tight end that high, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to do that, that's okay. And then there's always these guys that are going to slide up a little bit, like we don't even know. Jackson Dart goes in the first round. He might be in the 103, 104 range. Yep. And then everything gets shaken up even more. And you're looking at a Travion Henderson or an Emeka Ibuka there, which is, I'll take that, either one of those guys over JT all day.
It's
as of right now
to take the liquidity value, because you don't know right here, right now.
Yeah, and the resale value of that pick is going to go up, where JT's probably just going to stay the same. Like, even the coaching staff could go out and be like, we're going to give JT the rock 40 times. His value's still not going to go up past the 105, like in general. Like I don't see it ever reaching. We're talking about the fourth round in a startup. That's exactly where he's going to go. I don't think there's no way he goes above like an A-chain or I don't know, whoever's in that range right now as a running back. That's exactly, third round is where I see Hampton going. So it's like, I don't think he's ever going to get there. What about Rashee Rice or T Higgins? You going
I would pass
Rice
on
and
T.
Higgins or the 105?
I'd pass on T, because he's going to be a wide receiver 2 on his own team for the next 3-4 years, whatever those contracts were. So it's going to take a Jamar Chase injury like 2 years ago when T kind of went bonkers when Jamar was out with the hip.
I mean, he kind of went bonkers last year, but that was also, I don't know. He's in a contract year. I don't know if he's going to get a little soft now that he's got paid. You know, those things matter. These guys are like, we need a payday. Once they get it, you see some guys just check out a little bit. I'm not saying that T. Higgins is going to do that, but it's very common in the NFL.
And Rashi, I think if he didn't get hurt, there's no way we're even having this conversation right now. So if you think that he's going to bounce back, I think I would definitely take Rashi over the 105. PPR monster in 4 games last year, and then friendly fire Mahomes knocked him out. But
yeah, I mean, do you have any fear of him taking a step back a little bit after, you know, the emergence of Xavier Worthy, and then also them probably upgrading their running back situation and stuff? And I don't really have a fear of him taking a step back, but I know that's pretty common in the dynasty community, and that's probably a reason why he's going in this range right now.
I would lean into that fear and go get more of them if I can, because Kelsey, oof, I know he's coming back, but it's going to be the Rashi Rice and Xavier Worthy show. It's going to be cool. And yeah, I hope they get a running back, because then it's something else the defense has to respect.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move it over to 106. So 106 is pretty juicy because we're already in this. Okay, I think the pick is the move right now, but it is Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Josh Jacobs. I'm taking 106 over all those guys.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Would you take either one of those? I mean, so Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers are unique to me. I think Devonta, I have Devonta over Zay Flowers hands down, straight up at this point. I think he's probably better than any wide receiver you're going to get in this range. So I think that's really what you have to take a look at and decide. Does one of the running backs fall back there? Does Shedeur Sanders, just in a super flex league, the quarterback alone is probably going to net you more value down the line. I don't know. I mean, are you going to take a Travion Henderson or Devonta Smith if Henderson flies down there and falls to that range?
That's a really good this or that. I mean, Devonta Smith last year was 15 points per game plus. That was good enough for wide receiver 17. So if you're getting Devonta Smith as your wide receiver 3 or first flex, I think that's an edge in your league. Travion Henderson, though, there's a lot of buzz. He's kind of a polarizing prospect, not knowing landing spot. I think I would take the bird in hand with Devonta Smith.
Yeah. I was actually with the Undroppables on Thursday last week, and I was talking about Travion Henderson. I dropped the rookie profile on Friday of him with Wyatt at Wyatt_FF there. And yeah, I'm all in on Travion. I think he's got all the makeup to be the next CMC style running back in the NFL. I think he could probably take the reins. I think 49ers could even take him in early round 2. And I was talking about that on the pod and talking about him possibly, you know, being tandem with CMC and both taking turns and keeping each other healthy out there for a year until CMC's ready to hang the cleats up. But
yeah, that would get everyone excited.
And I think it would cause a great buy window for both players. I think everyone would be like, okay, CMC's cooked. You could probably go get him for a mid second, or, you know, I don't know. Like right now, he's really doesn't have a first value. A lot of people still hold him at like that 112 range, but I'm not paying the 112 for CMC right now. I don't feel good about it. I'd give you like a 202 or something, you know, like not that that's going to get me a CMC. I think people have to hold until he pops or has a really good game. But yeah, you could have a buy window for CMC and then also a buy low window for Travion too, because everyone's like, oh, well, CMC's still there. So what's the point? It's like Zach Charbonnet was worth a third at some point in time. You know, people wanted him off their rosters because they were like, okay, Walker's killing it and there's no reason. Like Sharp wasn't getting any play last year until Walker got hurt. So silly if you sold him, but it is what it is. That's how the running back game goes. If you don't show me in a year, you're going to be dead. And that's
Dynasty gamers got a short attention span, or however you want to word it. I mean, it's a long game of patience for sure.
Yeah, you have to have that. You have to look out for the value and understand that it is like when I first started Dynasty, you had 3-year windows, and those 3-year windows were how you valued players, and you bought the running backs after I guess you wanted to see a little bit sooner for running backs, but wide receivers, it was like very rare to ever see a wide receiver hit before
year 3 breakout.
Before Chase and JJ, like that was the mentality. And then they broke it open. And you're like, okay. And that's why JMO was such a buy. And we're going to talk about JMO in a couple minutes, but that's why, these guys like Marvin Mims, I don't think he's ever going to be a massive guy in the NFL, but he could very well be a wide receiver 2 on the Broncos come next year. As the long, he could be like the JMO of that offense because he's catching monster bombs. He had a couple, I think, multi-touchdown games last year. So yeah, I mean, you can't give up on these guys too soon. And I suggest you to go buy the year 2 guys that aren't hitting like people think they are. Like the Nico Collins, like Nico Collins was like going in the 17th round.
Yeah.
After his second year. Everyone was like, he's dead in the water. Like, there's no way they're going to revive his career, and they're never going to like have him become the guy that they thought they would. So, but all right. So 109, who we got at the 109, man? I'll let you take the reins a little bit. Who's in that range right now?
Right now, we got a little bit of Jalen Waddle, Chase Brown, and DK Metcalf. 109 in this draft class. I know recency of last year's draft class, 109 was awesome. I would beg to differ about this year. I am personally buying Chase Brown at this price. I don't think the Bengals can afford a premium draft pick on a running back. They got to suit up that defense. I don't know what your thoughts are on Chase Brown in 109.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in on. I wouldn't be surprised if they do take a guy in like the 3rd round or the 4th round, and they share the backfield a little bit. I think I'm still in on Chase Brown at the 109. That feels like the exact value. I bought Chase Brown for the 110 almost a month, probably a month ago now.
Nice.
And that feels fine to me. I also sold Chase Brown for Evan Ingram, the 202 and the 205.
Okay.
So that felt like his value right there was really good. I couldn't pass that up, especially on a team where I needed a tight end. And I see Ingram as being could be the number 1 receiver on that team. If we're talking about them, I mean, they have to tap a wide receiver in the draft, but early on, I think he's going to be the safety blanket and the go-to guy for Bo Nix for sure in that offense. Yeah, I think that's exactly what Chase Brown is. So I'm fine with whatever. I don't think I would buy DK for that at all. I don't know if they still don't have a quarterback over there. And DK has never been the set it, forget it wide receiver that he was once profiled as, like he is a fly route master. And I don't think we're ever going to see him as a wide receiver 1, especially on that team where Pickens and DK are very similar as far as how they play. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but they need a quarterback that can sling it. And right now they're looking at Jackson Dart or Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know how good I feel about that offense as a whole.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm in on DK at 109. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a franchise that I respect because they paid a 2nd round pick and then gave him the bag. DK's not going to have 3 or 4 targets a game, in my opinion. I think they're going to figure out quarterback. They tried the Kenny Pickett thing. They know what Mike Tomlin's a winner. So for fantasy purposes, what that means for DK Metcalf, I think based on what you're going to get at 109, Colson Loveland, Egbuka, Luther Burden, Matthew Golden. I know DK's never been a set it and forget it guy. However, if you're trading 109 to get him as your wide receiver 2 or 3, probably wide receiver 3, you're feeling really good.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I like him as my wide receiver 3. I just don't know if the value of that pick makes sense for him currently. But if hey, that's what makes Dynasty beautiful, baby. Like you want it, we would probably trade. We'd be perfect trade partners for that. I'd get the 10, the one. What are we talking about? 109,
Yep.
109, and you get
109.
DK.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. All right, so 110. We got some spice here, and I don't know if this is going to hit over after the news that Anthony Richardson and Dimes are splitting work over there. And to side note, I don't like what they're doing to Anthony Richardson at all. I think that's really, if he's your guy, if he's the one that you're going to build around and you have the confidence in, you don't do that to a young guy. You don't do that to a third-year quarterback that just came back off a major injury, and he really needs that confidence. He needs somebody to like push him, to build him. Do you see all these guys that they didn't have a support system, and then once they get into a nurturing system with a good quarterback coach and a good like team in place, like Baker, Geno, we see it with Darnold. We saw what happened with the coaching change for Bryce Young last year. It's just, they need to realize that they have to support this guy and make sure that he's in a good position to succeed. And bringing another guy in and then just announcing it like that, especially early on in the offseason, that feels crazy to me. I don't like that at all.
No, I mean, they took a project quarterback and then didn't like what they saw in the second year, because I guess he was hurt year 1, and now you just bring in Daniel Jones. Like, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard's jobs are riding on the line with Anthony Richardson. You need to go to that young quarterback and say, fight through the adversity. You're going to start all 17 games this year, and we're going to see what you got. It doesn't make any sense, because the dude's obviously talented, and when he's on the field, he's getting you what, 17 points per game. Like, he's a stud. Any week, he's like a Justin Fields type. He has that rushing floor. He can rush for 2-3 touchdowns. He helps Jonathan Taylor more because of that rushing fear for the defense, and he's got a rocket. So I'm on the same page with you. I don't get the situation at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give the guy the opportunity, give the guy the opportunity and just let him roll with it. And if he fails, but they didn't do this even last year. They went back and forth with Flacco. They've been really butchering the way that they handle the situation, and it's been kind of embarrassing, even from a guy that has no stake in the game. And I'm just a guy that sits on the couch and watches it and then tries to analyze it. Like I'm that asshole. But I mean, it just seems insane to me, and I don't know how Anthony Richardson's going to react to it. And if it motivates him, it motivates him, but I don't see it playing out that way. So we got the 110, and we're looking at Jameson Williams, Olave. I really love that Jameson Williams is like back in the first range. Like that is somebody that I was tapping the table on, not tapping, I was slamming the table on, saying that he's going to be like a really electric. I profiled him as a Kenny Golladay payday, like Kenny Golladay with Stafford. That's like who I see him as, like go route, whatever, just going down the line, monster plays, like dunking on guys, mossing people, like just being super electric and just having these monster plays, like could reel off a 97-yard touchdown at any moment. I think there's a lot of parts of his game that need improvement, but for what they need in that offense, he's perfect. Like they already have Amon-Ra St. Brown, they have Laporta in the middle. You just need somebody to open up that offense and really just like, be that third level guy that can just blow off the top, and everyone's going to be stretched out. So it's going to open up everybody, and he just does wonders for it. And we saw it last year, like these guys have all the time in the world to work off in the middle when Jameson's out there and deep and pulling everybody outside with him. So What do you think? You want to take 110 or Jameson Williams right now?
Well, I had the same feelings as you prior to. I'm taking Jameson Williams, especially because 110, you're probably a solid playoff team. If JMO's added as your wide receiver 3 or first flex, that's such an edge to win you weeks. Like you said, give him an end around or two, and that guy's gone. It was cool to see him mature as a player, with coming off the injury and the betting thing, and just rocking with the Lions. Like Dan Campbell's awesome, so I'm all about Jameson Williams.
Yeah, nice, man. Let's keep it moving. So 111, we're looking at, you put Justin Fields on this sheet, man, and that's pretty interesting to me. Like, I think you like Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields. Would you trade the 111 straight up for Justin Fields?
I think that's the going rate right now. I think it gets it done. Again, if you're a playoff team that rode Cousins till the wheels fall off, or Aaron Rodgers last year, like Fields is going to score fantasy points as long as he's playing, and I think the Jets are going to have to commit to him for at least 2025. It's a cheap price. Again, given this draft class, like what's the opportunity cost for you here? Matthew Golden, if Jackson Dart goes second round, they don't, in theory, the process, they wouldn't have the impact that Justin Fields has for your fantasy football team, especially if you need a QB2. If he's my QB1, you're in more trouble. Maybe you had rode A-Rich, Kirk Cousins, and Aaron Rodgers last year. So yeah, that's why I'm on the Fields.
I have a team that I have a type, obviously. I had a team with Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, and Will Levis. And that was my whole squad. And I wrote out, and this is a Devi team, and I wrote it out. And then I had Shedeur Sanders coming in. And I have a history of buying Mahomes super low. So I took my Devi first, which was the 105 in Devi. I paired him with Shedeur Sanders and Rome Odunze, and I got back Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Reed, and I said, send it. And yeah, so I got essentially Shedeur Sanders and a college prospect that's going to sit in a spreadsheet for 3 years. And then the swap that hurt a little bit was Odunze for Jaden Reed, but the step up Mahomes from Shedeur outweighs the downgrade of Odunze to Reed. And honestly, if Love comes back, we might not see even a massive separation of Reed and Odunze. Who knows how that's going to play out? But
yeah, Odunze is a projection at this point as far as production on your roster.
You're thinking Ben Johnson's going over there. Keenan Allen's probably going to find a new home, probably go back to the Chargers and have one last hurrah. And they could be drafting another guy. They got to replace Keenan Allen. I don't think that they're going to just roll with that squad. I don't remember who's their wide receiver 3? It's
they just signed Olamide Zaccheaus, so that you don't want to be doing that.
I mean, hey, if they roll that out and it's just DJ Moore, Odunze, and Zaccheaus, I think you're looking at 2 of these guys being monsters, and that's definitely going to be DJ Moore and
Rome.
Yeah, and Rome. But all right, let's hit 112, and then we'll kick it over some Discord trades and then get you out of here, man. So 112, you went Ricky Pearsall. I think we're looking at Geno Smith with the new team, Christian McCaffrey we talked about, Chris Godwin. Ricky Pearsall's a polarizing guy for me. So in my assessment with Ricky Pearsall, I didn't have him as a second-round talent. His analytics are awful as a guy that has a bad breakout age, didn't have a good dominator rating. His target share was a little off, but we saw what he did coming back after being shot. Like he literally got shot, and then he came back for the last 4 games of the year, and he showed out. He showed out on a team that had nobody. I mean, they had Kittle, and they didn't have a starting running back. They had a different running back every game the last 4 games of the season. But that's what their team looks like right now. You know, Ayuk's not going to be ready. They got Juwan Jennings. They have Kittle. CMC is going to be back, which is probably going to take away from the target share a little bit. And then they're probably going to draft a wide receiver. They have to draft a wide receiver at this point. You know, they're probably going to get somebody in the second round, and who knows, they could get one of the Higgins. I think Jaden Higgins, or somebody that could easily take that target share a little bit. But what do you think, man? What's your outlook on Pearsall? You put him on the sheet, so I want to hear from you about Pearsall in general.
Yeah, I threw him on there because I felt like he's just steamed up recently, given the time of year and content. And go buy this guy now. Shows are, shorts that you see. Um, I could see both sides. Ricky Pearsall is going to have to step into a productive role. And then whether he can do it or not is one thing. Like you said, respect the hell out of the dude. He's coming off getting shot. Um, so at the end of the day, 112, you just won the championship in your league. You're adding Pearsall. What's his ceiling? Like, is he ever going to be a wide receiver too? Just given the landscape of the entire league.
I mean, there's a very real possibility that, the team makeup, I think he's being vaulted because of the vacated targets. And I don't like putting value on guys because of that reason.
Nope.
That doesn't ever work out. The vacated targets isn't a thing. Like, if you are a person that gets open, that has that separation, that can work in the field, regardless of who's on it, then I think that's how you got your value. And it's tough for me to even say. I think that Pearsall could be a serviceable wide receiver 2 this year, because the wide receiver 2 spectrum is so broad as well. Like, we're talking about, I'm going to say 12 points a game. I think I'll put him on that, like 12, 14 points a game. I think he's going to have some good ones and some really bad ones. I think at cost, I'd probably want whoever they draft. Like I said, there's no way this is their offense. I can't imagine they're going to be missing Ayuk for half of the year, and they're just going to say, all right, well, we're going to roll with Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall right now, and we're going to call it a day. They're going to get a second round guy. I think they might even get a new running back too. And like I said earlier, if they get a Travion Henderson and a CMC, they might be a run heavy offense. And they might be a run first offense with Brock Purdy back there. And they're just going to, work Kittle in the middle and then maybe do some deep balls every once in a while. But I think their offense might look a little different than it has in the past.
No, I agree with that take. And the vacated targets thing last year at this time, it was, oh my gosh, Dalton Kincaid, Bills, vacated targets. And it was just not how it works. So I'd take the value of 112 for sure.
I think Ricky could definitely be fine in the NFL. I don't ever think he's going to be an elite asset in the NFL. He just doesn't have that profile. He would be the biggest outlier. He's like, I'm trying to think of like a serviceable comp. I can't, I'm not good like off the real comps right now. I mean, he's unique. He's got the ability to separate, but it's like more of like he's like a poor man's Wes Welker. I think like that's like, I'm not saying that because they're both white, but like he's got that same thing. He doesn't do anything fantastic. Like, there's no like amazing attribute to his game. He's just a worker bee, like he works at it, and he is a dog. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you get shot and then you come back and you play some ball. Like, yeah, you're a dog. But I don't think he's ever going to be a high-end wide receiver 2. I just can't see it. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to clip this and I'll reel it back in a year and I'll apologize to everybody. But let's talk about some trades that you popped in there, and then let's get out of here, man. So first Discord trade that you popped up there is Zay Flowers and the 110, or Rashee Rice 307 405. Dude, I honestly might take the Zay Flowers side, and that's not saying I don't love Rashee Rice, but I think Zay Flowers is going to have a pretty good year 3. I think he's definitely primed to have one of his best season, I think, personally. And I think the 110 is going to bridge the gap. 307, 405 are just dart throws. They're throwaways at this point. So I don't even count those. It's really just Zay Flowers and 110 or Rashee Rice for me. I like Rashee Rice. I think he's definitely going to be an alpha. I think he's going to be the best player on that team this year. I think that Zay Flowers is also going to be the best player on that team this year too. But they don't throw as much, and it's just I think that Rice is going to clear Zay Flowers, but I think the 110 might be enough, especially if you're looking at like a, if you're not against having a little risk tolerance there, like a Luther Burden or somebody at the 110. So you're talking about Luther Burden and Zay Flowers for Rashee Rice. And if Luther Burden hits, that's a massive win, and it's tough, man. It's tough to value that right now, but I could go either way. If I need that elite asset and I'm okay and I don't need depth, Rashee Rice is fine. But I think the value is definitely on the Flower side for sure.
Nice. I'm glad you said that because the advice I gave and others gave was the Rashee Rice side to hold. So the owner was giving up the Rashee Rice side. Same reasoning as you. I mean, Rashee Rice is that elite asset. Zay Flowers, to me, cop out answer better in best ball receiver. I had him in a couple spots last year. There was weeks it was 3-4 points. There was weeks it was 22.
Yep.
And 109 or I'm sorry, 110 hit rate. And it's a lotto ticket.
It's been pretty good the last 3 years. I'll be honest with you, but it really is. How good and how in tuned are you with the rookie draft and how confident are you in hitting? Like I think I could do a lot with the 110, but if you're not as like I look at 110 as value and I look at it as a trade piece. I don't look at it as I'm taking this guy at 110. I'm looking at like I'm going to move off this piece before the draft, and I could use this for another elite asset. Like I could tear it up when it comes down to that once guys really fall in love with the class, But my brain is always thinking about what could I do with that one piece and not what is it together and what is it the final product? Because I don't think about the final product. I think about tiering and tiering and tiering until I have, until I get to like JJ or somebody, like until I get up there. So at that point, I'm like, okay, like I get the 110 and I throw that on an AJ Brown or something, and I try to pry away a top tier asset or something. You know what I mean? Like it's already in the works of what I'm going to do next before I do it. And that's, I think, how a lot of people should think. The 110 isn't a guy. The 110 is a piece that you can build up and you can move and you can work with, but I don't think you're wrong at all. I think Rashee Rice is definitely, you and I both talked about how we feel about Rashee Rice. Yeah, I think he's going to elite talent. I think he's an alpha. I think he's going to be a wide receiver one in the NFL. So, all right, next trade is 107 and 109 or A-Chain. I'm in the camp of moving A-Chain this year. I'm cool with moving A-Chain. I think I need more than the 107, the 109. I think that the idea there is right. I moved A-Chain for Garrett Wilson in a second.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that was probably the last 2 weeks of the season this past year.
Nice.
I bought a lot of Garrett Wilson, man. I'm telling you, he was dirt cheap after the Aaron Rodgers fiasco. But I think so when you trade players, and this is something that I wish we talked about more earlier, you have to look at insulation. And when I say insulation, you have to look at, okay, I need a pure value guy. So if I'm going to trade A-Chain, I want a running back and a pick, or I want a wide receiver and a pick. I don't want just 2 picks. And when I trade a top tier asset, I never want just picks, because you need something to fall back on. Like you could trade A-Chain for the 106 and Zach Charbonnet. And people might do that just because they think they're tearing up, but you have the insulation of Zach Charbonnet to get you points, and then you have the time. So you're not moving off of points for just value. You want to move points off of points and value so that you can still get a percentage of the points you're missing out on while also having that pick that could boost up the points even higher eventually. I never just say the picks are going to become players because that takes time, and there's a lot of even like wide running back like Travion Henderson. He's going to need a couple games to get used to it. Just like Gibbs, we saw him 2 years ago. You could have bought Gibbs for dirt cheap because everyone was like, okay, he's not doing anything in the NFL. They took this guy in the first round to have David Montgomery run, 30 times a game. And they were like, Gibbs gets a couple touches here and there, and you could have bought him. Just like I think there's going to be buy windows for all these guys, but you're not going to be betting on a bunch of rookies after A-Chain is going for 30 points a game, and you're sitting there with Travion getting 5 points a game.
Yeah.
You got to play it safe, I think, and that's what insulation is all about.
It's a great definition of insulation, and with the insulation, you get more outs, right? When you make a trade like that, there's more outs than just 2 liquid picks.
Yeah, it's you got to milk everybody for what they are, but trading just for picks, if they don't hit, you're out of it. But if you go and trade guys like for a vet, like if you move somebody like Devonta Smith for Chris Godwin and like a early second or something, or like if you want to do that, you can do that because Chris Godwin might actually, he was the wide receiver 3 for a long stretch last year. He might give you like 75 to 80% of what Devonta Smith gives you this year. And then you also have that pick where you could probably grab a Matthew Golden or somebody that, and if he hits 2, boom, you just doubled the value of Devonta Smith right there.
Yeah,
You already replaced Devonta Smith and you got the points at the same time.
absolutely.
All right, well, let's move it down a little bit. So we got Ramondre Stevens or the 103.
Yeah, that was a good discussion. I said I would cash out any third and take Ramondre. So I would be buying Ramondre for any third.
Oh, hell yeah.
Contract, starter, what more?
Yeah, he's got a contract. He's in a position where they probably can't even afford to take a running back in the first 3 rounds. I think the first time they're going to have an opportunity to take a running back is in the 4th round. I don't think a 4th round running back is going to beat out Ramondre Stevenson, especially in a McDaniels offense and especially with Vrabel there. Vrabel loves big-bodied guys. Ramondre's a bulldozer. He's a big dude. I think he's 6'2", 3", but he's 240 pounds. I'm making this up right now, but I think he's a big dude.
He's a tank.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's definitely a bruiser. And I think that fits the mold for that offense. It fits what they're looking for. And if they bring anybody in, he's going to be like they have Antonio Gibson, who's a decent pass catching back. Like they could replace Antonio Gibson, but I don't think they're replacing Ramondre Stevenson. They could bring somebody else in to be the pass catching back, but I don't think they're ever going to move him off of a 2-3 down role. And that's just the way the Patriots run their offense. They draft the guy that they're going to play next year. They don't draft the guy that they play this year. Stevenson was drafted when they had I don't remember who they had before, but yeah, that's kind of how they play out a little bit.
Yeah,
so I'm good with Ramondre for sure.
Awesome. So go buy him.
Oh, it's just dad. So just.
I got you now.
Oh, there we go. Love it. Yeah, it's not a bad time to sign off right now. I don't know what's going on with my headphones, but they don't make it past an hour, and I'm gonna have to buy a new pair, unfortunately.
Oh,
damn. You want to plug anything? You are with the Undroppables. You are over there in the Discord. You're probably going to be pumping out some content. I'll probably get you on some pods and have some fun with you, man. You did a great job tonight. Cool. But is there anything that you want to drop before we get out of here and then tell people where they can follow you?
Yeah, just follow the Undroppables on socials, on X at the Undroppables. Discord's now free. Since making it free, 2 weeks ago. We're up 100 members. There's Patreon tiers. The 2025 UN wide receiver model will be dropping after the rookie draft in April. So people get excited for that. That's paid information. That's awesome. Helps you win your leagues. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on there, boy. I mean, great first pod. And this is why you rock with the Dynasty DEGENS and the Undroppables. It gives you
Yeah,
perspective. Win your leagues, win that money.
I appreciate you, man. And as we were talking about Dynasty, we go through everything. And if you are not on Fast Draft, I suggest you go over to Fast Draft. So Fast Draft is a great app. It gives you the opportunity to go into the Origins draft and draft all the rookies that you want. You will get a set list, and you can roll those over to the season. And you're essentially playing the game with these guys. So if you don't have your rookie drafts for a little while, if you're waiting on sleeper or anything for these rookie drafts, you can go do that right now over there. If you go in there, use our promo code DEGENS, we will actually match you. So DEGEN, DEGEN, and we'll match you a deposit of up to $50. Before we sign off, I'm going to have my boy Matt tell you exactly everything that I couldn't tell you about that, and then we'll sign out of here.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies, and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Yeah. So once again, that is DEGEN. So DEGEN over there on Fast Draft. The DEGENs over here, we are going to be dropping a rookie profiler on Friday. We have the Dynasty DEGENs live on Thursday, and then we are doing Devi DEGENs that just dropped on Tuesday. We'll be promoing that and then rolling it out again on Thursday. So a lot of stuff going on. For the rookie profiler, we're doing Keyshawn Judkins. So it's Judkins with Dynasty Price. So Garrett Price, it's a buddy of mine, and we're going to have some fun with that. So definitely look out for that Friday. But until then, we will catch you. And we got to figure out how we're doing an outro. I'm glad we're not doing this live so I can cut this. I can't do the outro that I normally do. So let's go bang.